Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Magdalena Skarżyńska. I am a conservator in Polish Center of Mediterranean Archaeology, Warsaw University, and I have a pleasure to talk about some assumptions of conservation care system, and I choose Old Dongola as an example. Firstly, I will introduce to you this archaeological site. Firstly, I will tell you a general about this archaeological site, about object which we have there, about some state of preservation of these mainly wall paintings, and some assumption and research questions which we can give for this kind of conservation work about methodology. I will tell about ongoing conservation projects and causes of some kind of degradation, and after that we will go to conclusions. Old Dongola is located between third and fourth cataracts on the Nile. The city, situated on the eastern bank of the river, was founded in the 5th century and was a urban center of medieval kingdom of Makuria in a Christian time, but what is really important from 14th century was also a political and religious Islamic center. So we have a heritage of both of these religions to protect on this site. Archaeological work on this site started in 1964, and during this 60 years, almost every year, a Sudanese Polish team was working there. Currently, the head of the excavation is Professor Artur Obuski, and right now we have several grants in Old Dongola, including ERC grants. This archaeological site includes mainly a monastery part and a citadel, which you can see on this map. Ongoing archaeological works are focused mainly in citadel. And on this map, you can see in red frames places where we can meet wall paintings in Old Dongola. So there is a really huge number of these wall paintings, more than hundreds, and most of them right now have shelters. I would like to show you some examples of these paintings. So in a monastery part, we have so-called annexes and also excavated in 2018 NB2 church. And this painting showing really unique iconography because it's a mix of Byzantine traditional style with some local African influences. So, for example, in Southwest Annex, you can see a part of a dance scene here on these slides where people are dancing near to icon of Virgin Mary, but they have typical African costumes. Also, these are really good known scenes of protection of Byzantine kings. So, for example, in NB2 church, on this slide, you can see a king under protection of Jesus with a horn crown. And a similar situation we have in a citadel. There we have a B5 church. And in this church, a situation is a little bit different because in a monastery part, most of these paintings are paintings a secco. on a mud plaster. And here in a B5 church, we have paintings on a lime plaster. So the state of preservation of these paintings is also a little bit different. And I wanted to show you also some examples from last year's. So we have Unit 100. It's the biggest known apse from Nubian churches, and also some the last discovery. So you saw a few seconds ago this movie with a chapel with King David. As you can imagine, this number of paintings, structures, and building, this evoke both admiration and a fear among conservators in the same time, because it's really difficult to coordinate work on this huge archaeological site. So we decided to prepare some conservation strategies. And first point of this strategies of this strategy is documentation and analysis. So, of course, through assessment of paintings, technologies, and degradation mechanism. But in this documentation, really important is multidisciplinary collaboration. Here I wrote about Academy of Fine Arts in Warsaw, but also with other specialists, not only archaeologists, but also architects, constructors, etc. What is important in this kind of strategy is to have some conservation projects and grants. And first step of it is preventive conservation measures. So all of these points are going into sustainable and emergency response, and our idea is to go from a short term to long term actions, and I will explain it in the next slides. So about methodology, it's important firstly to check which kind of materials and what kind of technology we have. So we are preparing a lot of research about it. These are you can see kind of methods of research, and these are good known also, of course, for archaeologists, because it's a kind of archaeometrical methods. Next step is documentation and monitoring, and also a theoretical and comparative study. And these assumptions are also integration. So conservation should be treated as an integral and continuous part of archaeological work, not as a separate post-excavation task. Important is interdisciplinarity. An effective system must combine archaeology, conservation science, material, and environmental studies, digital tools, and local institutional collaboration. A preventive approach, the focus should be on a planning and prevention rather than reaction to damage after it occurs. Continuity and standardization. So this action should be systematic, documented, and embedded in a long-term site management. And also, very important point for me is adaptation to local conditions. So this model must be realistic. We should think about it, what kind of logistical, environmental, and financial realities we have in Sudan, and to be prepared for that. I decided to write here some research question which we have during this kind of conservation work. So, which technological, environmental, and biological factors are driving in deterioration of wall paintings and plasters at Dongola? How this process be documented and monitored systematically over time? What should the workflow of conservation curl look like? So it's important from the moment of discovery through documentation, risk assessment, treatment, and long-term maintenance. What institutional factors influence conservation and Old Dongola, and how can they be influenced when planning a more coherent system? And to what extent could such a system be adopted to the other archaeological sites, but of course in a similar context? And right now, I would like to say about some factors and impacts which has influence of a situation right now. So, uh, very important is the impact of the ongoing conflict in Sudan. Fortunately, the Old Dongola site has not been directly affected by a military operation. However, the lack of the permanent supervision due to the conflict has also led to gradual deterioration. So the absence of continuous conservation efforts increases the risk of environmental damage and material degradation. And here we have the importance of collaboration and community engagement, and really crucial role is local partners, but also and in this monitoring the site, but also rebuilding during this war. Second factors about which I would like to say a little bit more is the climate of Sudan. Old Dongola is a north part of Sudan, northern part, so it's a desert climate. But talking about climate changes, I wanted to show you some scenario and compare a global and northern Sudan scenario, because as you see, for a Sudanese one, this higher temperature are even bigger than for a global scenario. Second hazard which I choose is precipitation, and here we have quite specific situation. I will explain it later, but also we have a higher percent of precipitation in a northern part of Sudan in these scenarios. So the main climate changes in Sudan general, these are rising temperature, sandstorms, irregular rainfall and droughts, flash floods. Big influence is also Aswan High Dam and Lake Nasser, because it changed the flow of the Nile and also some climate near to this high dam. Also, land degradation and the desertification, and conclusion, it can be just extreme weather events. Sorry, my computer don't want to collaborate. Okay. Mm, so, as you know, in last year, we have a much more bigger number of floods in Sudan. So in last year, almost every year, these are some really serious damages caused by floods. And scenario of precipitation here for northern Sudan, of course, are rising. But here we have this scenario year by year, and important is to analyze every month. And as you see, for Sudan situation, the most important are this really heavy rainfall during this summer months. And for this scenario, it will be even 100% more heavy rainfall days. And talking about temperature also, here we have a rising temperature scenario, and I put also again a precipitation maps with a scenario of future changes, because I wanted to show you that it's not like that general in Africa we have similar changes, and here you have a different region and different scenario for that. So for Old Dongola, the main climate risk is increased rainfall and flash floods, rising temperature, sand dunes and dust storms, fluctuation groundwater levels, and strong winds and storms. But I decided to make a table about it because for now, after our analysis, the most serious factor, hazard, these are extreme rainfall events. And we have, of course, related secondary hazard, and these are all of these hazards which I was talking about. But the mixed high temperature and extreme rainfall events are making a really dangerous for all of these structures made from mud bricks and mud plaster, really a dangerous cycle that firstly we have these really heavy rainfalls, and after that really high temperature and droughts. And here we have the effect of this cycle in Old Dongola is visible mainly on floors, but also on columns. And here on this wall painting, you can see also some salt effluence. So it has influence for all structures. And here again, how we can step by step analyze this kind of climate hazards. So we should give to ourselves a question about this exact object. So where is exposure the highest? What is most sensitive? So which material, which structures? And thanks that we can find gaps in adaptive capacity in our archaeological site, and to think about it, how to repair it, and what we can make it, what we can make in the future to better protect this kind of structure. So the effects in Old Dongola, these are damage to wall paintings, painted plaster are highly sensitive to moisture and salt. Rapid wetting and drying cycle caused by sudden rains, followed by heat, accelerates detachment and disintegration. Also erosion of mud brick architecture, because we are not we are talking not only about wall paintings, of course. Altering dryness and rainfall weakness walls, volutes, and surface finishes. And once the protective outer layers are breached, walls collapse rapidly. And here I wanted to show you just some examples of state of preservation of wall paintings in Old Dongola. And as you see, one of the main degradation is caused by rainwater infiltration damages. Here is an example from NB2 Church. Also, of course, we have an example of mm, more classical damages like cracks or surface dirt. And on this slide, you can see also that the cause of this degradation is also just a material, this mud brick, which is really sensitive for water, but also for biological things like termites, wasp nest, etc. And on these maps, you can see, I just sign that when we have a rain, then in one of a site of a church, after really, really strong rainfall, uh, we have a kind of river which is created in this part, and it's even visible on this photo. Also, what is important to analyze before any protection actions is analyzing a topography of these buildings. So, for example, here we have a mosque which is more on the top, and NB2 church. I was talking about this church just a few seconds ago. Is not on the top of this hill, so that's right, this river can find a way in one of the near to one of the wall of this building. Other example of damages, this one are from a mosque. Here we had the situation that roof wasn't properly, so here you can see some rainwater infiltration damages again, but also plaster defects retouching from the wall and cracks of the plaster, quite characteristic for this case. What about I was telling that it's because of this drought and wetting cycle. And here again, NB2 church, and on this illustration, you can see erosion and material loss in mud brick and mortar due to standing or infiltration water at the base of the walls. So this is a situation that we have water damages, so water attacked from above and below. And some examples of damages from last years. Right now, I would like to tell about ongoing conservation project, because through this project, I would like to show how certain assumptions are implemented. Yeah. One of the project is this NB2 church. Rest of a project we have on Citadel, so it will be Baraka project, ongoing one, emergency protection of Church Archangel Raphael. So this is this B5 church, and also some other work on Citadel. This is really important project because this church was excavated in 2018, and exactly in the same year, collaboration with Academy of Fine Arts start, and during this year we almost we made a conservation almost all of these paintings. Every year, we had the students under supervision of Professor Krzysztof Chmielewski, and they are preparing step by step conservation project and master thesis or annexes to diplomas. So they are starting from documentation, preparing maps of damages. After that, uh, all of conservation treatments are ongoing, but what is really important, there is a full conservation treatment cycle. So from a cleaning, reinforcement plaster, making a putties into a color integration. So this church is making from A to Z. Yeah? And here you can see also one part of this important assumption, so documentation. So it's not only map of degradation, but also map of conservation interventions. And we on this map we have even points of injections, part which was reinforced, etc. And these are some effects of conservation work in this church. Uh, Next important conservation works are in Archangel Raphael church, and there we are mainly reinforcing degraded plaster because it's a really huge problem with a lime plaster in this kind of climate. But we figure out that the temperature in this church is really high. That's right. We decided to change a roof because before it was a metal roof, and thanks to Alif Foundation, we prepared the project Emergency Protection of the Church of Archangel Raphael in Old Dongola. Roof replacement, the first stage of eliminating the effects of torrential rains and flooding. And in this project, we decided to prepare a two-level roof. So one part still it needs to be metal one because of these heavy rainfalls. But the second is traditional roofing made by jarits. So these are palm ribs with muna, which is a local mortar. And thanks that we have a better circulation inside this church, and we make a lower temperature inside. Next project is Baraka revitalization of the oldest preserved Sudanese mosque and Old Dongola. And it's a holistic project. It's not only about conservation, of course, and we decided to choose this object because it's only standing from 9th century object in Old Dongola, I think. I mean, it wasn't excavated and it was in used into a 60s of 20th century. So this building exists since the Makurian times, 9th century. After that was converted in 40th century into mosque. So it's showing a rich history of Old Dongola. And in this project, we have a collaboration with, of course, architects, constructors, and we want to make this building alive again. And from a conservation point of view, we made a first stage of project. So we prepared a stratigraphic tests, more than 30, and we focused right now on a staircase. Here is example of documentation of this kind of stratigraphic test. So each layer is described, and some effects. Also, every this kind of table of stratigraphic tests has a conclusion and observation. And thanks these stratigraphic tests, we found two paintings. One is with Archangel, one is with a Holy Warrior. And here, really important for us, stratigraphic test which shows Arabic inscriptions. So we can suppose that it's from a first stage of existing mosque in this place. Of course, archaeologists still digging because it's working like that. So from last year, we have the other example of conservation work. So during this planning project, we need to care also about this excavated part. And here we have example of apps. And what is important, we made all of tests. We put a protective putties, but after all of this work, we decided to refill it by sand to protect it. And the same situation we was with a chapel with King David, that we this was really difficult tasks for conservator because this room is really small. During this work, we already started works in a mosque also, and this plaster was extremely detached, sometimes even a few centimeters. So we protect all of these plasters, and also decided to refill it by sand again to protect these paintings. And going into documentation, we have a system of documentation which is quite simple to refill. So, and it should be together with archaeological documentation. So, for example, if we have some part of plasters infill, we need to know what kind of layer it is, what kind of unit, etc. And we have here identification, information about the person carrying out the conservation work, about facility, so what I said, location, also type, material, dating if it's possible, conservation information, and of course photographic documentation. And what is the role of detailed conservation documentation? Here you have also some other examples, and I really like this scheme because it showed that in a really, really simple way, because conservation work during archaeological excavation are really intense. So sometimes you can just write on a paper the most important treatments and refill this documentation later, but this kind of scheme can help you to remember what was done exactly. This role is evidence-based decision, provides reliable data on the pre-damage condition, materials, and previous interventions, allowing accurate assessment after a crisis, damage comparison and mapping, um, prioritizing or recovery actions, transparency and accountability, knowledge continuity, which is really important, preserve technical information for future interventions and capacity building, and be honest, learning from a crisis, transform documentation into a tool for reflection and adaptation, uh, and strengthening resistance for future events. And here I wanted to show you once again these maps of damages and maps of interventions, because it shows also in a really simple way where some conservation treatments was made, and we can also see a continuation of this documentation from state of preservation to these interventions. So after these destructive rains from last years, which is that the most important is structural support, protection of paintings, of course, to making a shelters, preventive conservation, and local involvement. Mm. And this is an example of local involvement, and I would like to say that without Zaki, I couldn't sleep in a night right now, be honest, because we are kept informed about any damage in the real time almost, and even the buildings are rebuilt in the same time. So I think that the other archaeological sites in Sudan are not so fortunate. And in our case, this policy of PCMA prioritizing Sudanese-Polish cooperation give us this kind of effects that even during war, it was seasons of archaeological works, but also from my point of view, from this conservation point of view, what is important, we really know what is going on this site right now. And all of these factors, planning, all of these projects are taking us to planning for a future. So we have prepared a short-term, medium, and long-term actions and strategy. And when I was preparing it, I figured out that we are not in short-term actions right now, and step by step we are going to the medium one, so to this adaptive conservation and landscape integration. And to going to conclusion, I would like to show you this scheme. I like it really much. Here is the role of a conservator at PCMA, but for me, it's right now a role of conservator general. So as you see, for me, it's really important documentation in this scheme, but conservators are not longer only care about practical treatments. They are managers coordinating with other institutions. They need to participation in scientific research, collaborated with other specialists. So this role of conservator are changing, I think, in a time. So these expected results and significance of conservation planning on archaeological site. So idea is to have a pilot conservation course system tailored to the conditions of Old Dongola, to make a platform integrating documentation and monitoring data, a set of procedures and workflows for planning and prioritizing conservation interventions. Of course, publication and some theoretical reflection on conservation. Uh, as a conclusion, once again, heritage recovery in Old Dongola. So it's a climate reality. Climate change is no longer a distant threat, and each rainfall in Dongola becomes both a danger and opportunity to learn how to respond better. The motto is from intervention to recovery, emergency action after the rains involved into a continuous process of recovery, linking conservation, adaptation, and long-term site care. Prevention and continuity. Effective recovery depends on transforming temporary protection into sustainable system of monitoring, sheltering, and maintenance. Local leadership and collaboration, the joint effort of NCAM and PCMA build local capacity, leadership, and trust, providing that recovery is strongest when shared. And hope through recovery. Each act of preservation in Dongola restores not only walls, but also confidence, resilience, and meaning with Nabian heritage. So this case of Old Dongola shows how heavy rains exposed the fragility of Nabian heritage and tested years of conservation work. Through careful repairs and continuous recovery efforts, each intervention become a part of learning how to protect better and adapt to change. And in this way, recovery in Dongola is not only restoration after damage, it's the ongoing practice of resilience, cooperation, and hope. And I'm always saying that there is no lonely rider of conservation. So I would like to thank all of these conservators which was working during these last few years in Old Dongola. And the conclusion is also a fact that how there is no exist conservation treatments once forever. Similar is with planning, that we need to be prepared for the worst scenario, but also we need to keep in mind that everything can change and we need to be prepared for some changing. Thank you for your attention, and if you have some question, I will try to answer for it.